Baseball was the first time that the people of Dallas and Tarrant counties voted for the same thing at the same time.
People do not realize, and it's interesting to me, the enmity that existed between Dallas and Fort Worth. You just don't realize how strong it was. The county judge in Dallas was a guy named Lou Sterry. He despised Tarrant County. Amon Carter was the dominant figure in Fort Worth. And if he went to Dallas, he took his lunch. He despised Dallas.
That rivalry was an opportunity for Arlington. You know, it was like, don't go to Fort Worth and make Dallas mad, don't go to Dallas and make Fort Worth mad, come to Arlington and everybody be happy.
This had always been a minor league hotbed. And there were historic minor league ballparks that I used to go to as a kid. LaGrave Field, the famous LaGrave Field, which I've been in Fort Worth for 90 years, and then Burnett Field over in Dallas, but neither one of them were suited to expand in any way.
Generally, we were at war with each other, but here, Dallas, Fort Worth, everybody agreed on baseball.
We had a bi-county commission. The purpose of it was jointly get a major league ball club.
What that did then was set the ground rule that if we ever got Major League Baseball, it was going to be in Arlington.
It was one of the few things Dallas County and Tarrant County ever agreed on, even to this day.
Then ultimately, by the mid-60s, as we were continuing to lose out, the effort consolidated and Tom Vandegrift and the city of Arlington pushed on.
The opportunity came to go for it was when Tarrant County was going to build a convention center in Fort Worth. And the leaders of the county came in and talked with Vandegrift about, well, we assume we're going to get your support and the city's support to do this.
And Tom said, no, not necessarily. What's in it for us?
And Tom said, we want a minor league baseball park to be a part of that issue and to be built in Arlington. And they said, fine.
And the bond issue passed. And we ended up building Turnpike Stadium.
I think they later saw Arlington was actually getting a lot of things they might want elsewhere, but at the time they settled on that. And then Arlington took the two cities off the hook any financial risk when they took it on from Tarrant County and Dallas County, and it was solely on the backs of Arlington for the last half of the 60s.
Tom Vandegrift, the architects, everybody involved, they were planning ahead. We may get a team on the fly some year. Wisely, it was only a 10,000 seat stadium here, Turnpike Stadium. But they built it so if a team ever came, they could expand it in a hurry. The impact of that decision to build Turnpike Stadium, there's no way any of this could have happened if that decision not been made in '64 to have that ballpark in Arlington, a minor league ballpark that could be quickly expanded.
The Dallas-Fort Worth Spurs were the team when I was a child. And I went to a lot of games with my dad and my grandfather, and I even had my glove. And I never played baseball in school, but I had my glove to go to the games. I loved doing it. It was great. We spent a lot of time together that way.
And it was really well supported, and I got a chance to grow up with them, and I had a great time growing up. Baseball was just an integral part of what we were.
You know, they had Turnpike Stadium, which they built for the sole reason to show we can attract baseball. And they shattered minor league attendance records with Turnpike Stadium.
I do remember as a child being on road trips, and this was really talking to Washington to the senators, but we would be traveling around and Dad would take any detour out of the way to go to see a stadium. We would always be going to see stadiums.
I thought we were doing a lot of father-son trips. No, we were going around the country following wherever the commissioner of baseball or the president of the American League, Joe Cronin, were.
So Tex Schramm, who was the architect of the Dallas Cowboys, right? There were a lot of people who were I think they were against him. Granted, they doubted him. They didn't think he could do it. Tex Schramm wrote a kind of a scathing article at the time that my grandfather took offense to, and so he ended up writing Tex Schramm, and Tex wrote him back, and he said, "The attendance at Turnpike Stadium thus far has been encouraging, and I think it will do more than anything to hasten the day that Major League Baseball will come. But one or two people cannot do it all, Tom. We have to get some momentum, we have to use some imagination, and we have to have some courage." And I think it's funny he says that because I think there were a lot of people who told him to do things, how he should be doing it, how he should be thinking, but they weren't in the ring.
Wrote plenty of letters. He was really good at letter writing, and I think he wrote plenty of letters and had plenty of correspondence via telephone or letter that he advocated for Arlington.
I can't personally fathom, I haven't written a letter in years, and he wrote thousands. And so to see just that alone, irrespective of any other thing he did to get the team here, just the volume of the time and energy to do that and build a city at the same time.
So many franchises in the 60s, a lot of franchises were moving. There was expansion 2 or 3 times, and they're giving teams to Montreal, of all places.
Charlie Finley of the Kansas City Athletics, who multiple times had actually said he was moving here. They flew him down here multiple times, came and looked at the site. That was early in the 60s and in the mid 60s, then later in the 60s and 67. And we have records. He was coming to Texas, and then each time he just pulled the rug out from under them, and he ended up moving to Oakland. In
'68, they gave a franchise to Seattle, and it rained every day, and that team, they finally had to move it. That was the Seattle, long before the Mariners, that was the Seattle Pilots. And after about 3 years, the American League went, "We got to get out of here."
And that ended up failing and lost that to Bud Selig, who then moved into Milwaukee. At that time, then you had everybody kind of gave up, and everyone kind of disappeared. And my grandfather then kind of went after it alone from there.
A lot of people gave up. I would say most people gave up. Hell, I gave up. I didn't know if it was ever going to happen. And although this area was growing and booming, and we had the Cowboys, and they had become a national story late into the 60s, but that was the only other pro team here. But the only guy who didn't give up, Mayor Tom Vandegrift, a hero to all of us.
When we didn't have enough water to drink, we built a lake. When we wanted highways and we had to fight for them, we went to Austin, we went to Washington. When we needed to build a hospital, we built it ourselves. We need to let the pride show. We need to be Arlington, the Arlington we've always been.